Hey, this is C&D channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for Bellator 72, which is going to happen on July 20th on MTV2. 5-fight main card. You got the welterweight tournament final and the semifinal with the light heavyweights. Excuse me. The debut of Hall Semtex Daley. And a decent prelim card, actually. You got guys like Ben Saunders fighting. UFC debut of Chris Beast Boy Barnett. Shannon Slack, who's a prospect to look out for. And even like Raw Maya as well. He's a good fighter. So, yeah, the prelim card looks pretty good. Nice to see Bellator in their summer series. Okay, to start it off, we got Karl the Psycho Amoussou versus Bryan the Beast Baker. Interesting style matchup, as both of these guys do have a judo background, and they both used to fight as middleweights, cutting to welterweight now. So it's actually really hard for me to call, but it really goes down to the fact that, like, with Baker, you know, my head says Baker, my heart says Amoussou. One thing about Amoussou is that he fades in the later rounds. You really got to see that in the Rickles fight. In the first round, though, he's so, he's awesome in the first round. Just explosive, shows some amazing judo. He's just, if he can carry that throughout, like, every round, or just pace himself better, then he'd be awesome. But he fades in later rounds, like, really bad too. Once the third round comes, I mean, he's just not the same guy. But Bryan Baker, though, like, his cardio isn't exactly the best as well. Here's the thing with him, though, like, even when he looks like he's fading a little, he still fights through it. And you got to see it against, like, Saunders, for example, or against Jared Hess. Like, he looks, a bit tired, but he definitely fights through it a lot of times. Whereas with Amoussou, I mean, he just looks like he's just gassed. I mean, that's the thing. They're both 26 years old too, which is really interesting. There's definitely some stats with these guys that are, very similar, to be perfectly honest. I'm going to go with Karl the Psycho Amoussou, though, to win this one. It's pretty tough for me to pick him, because with Baker, especially in the later rounds, I can see Baker taking the fight. In the first round, though, Amoussou is awesome. One thing about Amoussou, though, too, is besides both these guys having strong judo, Amoussou does have really strong Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You got to see that, especially in the Chris Lozano fight. A little bit in the Alvey fight when he mounted him. I mean, and of course the Lozano fight where he beautiful sweep, took the back, ground and pound choke. I mean, first round, it was awesome performance. Also with his stand-up too, I think Amoussou has the better stand-up. He does have a Savate background. His kicks are really strong. Punches are good, but it's really his kicks are the strongest part of his stand-up game. With Baker, he's a really strong guy. I mean, he wasn't even a small middleweight, and now he's just a huge welterweight. He does have solid stand-up himself, and good offensive takedown ability in general. You got to really see that in the Ben Saunders fight, with good top control as well. One thing about Baker, though, he only has 2 losses by KO or TKO out of, like, 21 fights. But one thing about him, especially when he punches, he will usually keep the non-punching hand pretty low. There's definitely a lot of defensive holes in Baker's stand-up game that Amoussou could potentially exploit, or which could cost Bryan Baker. So yeah, I'm going with Karl Amoussou here, but this one's really tough to call. Okay, next fight after that, Paul Samtex Daley makes his Bellator debut as he fights Rudy Bears. Rudy Bears is just one of those guys that's just really experienced. He's really a journeyman. I mean, he's fought guys like Jason High, Tyron Woodley. I mean, he's been there. He's fought against some really tough guys. Same with Daley, though. Didn't even notice that Daley has over 30 fights now. 19, 12, and 2 record. 20 of those wins are by KO or TKO. His bread and butter, especially, is that left hook. I mean, he just has that one punch KO power with that left hook. He actually has some good elbows too. You got to see a little bit of that in the Kazuo Misaki fight, actually. He was on the bottom, if I'm not mistaken. I think he managed to cut Misaki. Despite Daley's, I guess, like, lack of grappling, or, like, I guess weakness in grappling, he has shown, like, improved takedown defense. You really got to see that in the Tyron Woodley fight, and he even showed some offensive takedown ability against Kazuo Misaki. He does have weight cutting issues, though, and his cardio is a bit questionable. I like Paul Daley to win this one, though. I don't think Bears is the type of guy that will really expose anything from Daley. It was a bit telling, though, that Kazuo Misaki was beating him in the stand-up. Paul Daley has shown some susceptibility to, like, just a basic jab. And actually, yeah, just like a basic jab, even. So that's the thing. But once again, I don't think Rudy Bears is going to really expose any weakness of Daley. I got Paul Samtex Daley winning this one. Okay, next fight after that, Emanuel Newton fights Attila Vegh. Newton's on both these guys are on 6-fight win streaks. Newton has an 18-6-1 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 7 wins by sub. 28 years old, and he trains at like Rain and like King's MMA. I've seen an NFC. If I wasn't mistaken, I think he was the one that I think he fought Ryan Jimmo. I'm not too sure, or it could have been Dwayne Lou. Yeah, I'd have to check again. But from what I remember, he was a pretty solid fighter. Attila Vegh, 26-4-2 record, 9 wins by KO or TKO, 11 by sub. He's 26-year-old. One thing that's pretty worrisome, actually, is he's relatively small for the weight class, weighing in as low as 200 pounds as a light heavyweight. Definitely looks like he can cut down to 185. He does have good Greco-Roman wrestling as well. So yeah. This one, tough to say, but I'll go with Attila Vegh to win this one. And he won his last fight against Zal Galasic, I believe in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. Before that, he beat Dan Spahn. So yeah, I'll go with Attila Vegh to win this one. Okay, next fight after that, Tim Carpenter fights Travis View. He definitely have experience versus, relative inexperience. I mean, Tim Carpenter only has a 9-1 record, whereas Travis View has a 67 wins, 14 losses, and 1 no contest. I mean, the guy has a lot of experience under his belt. 22 wins by KO TKO, 23 wins by sub. 34 years old, and he's coming off a 5-fight win streak. He's fought in both like light heavyweight and heavyweight. Not just that, he showed some really strong wrestling against Christian Mpumbu, and even beat Christian Mpumbu, who is the current Bellator light heavyweight champion. In a 3-round fight. This one's kind of tough to say, though, because I am actually pretty high on Tim Carpenter. 9-1 record, 1 TKO, and 4 subs. The thing is, though, he's been showing some improved stand-up as of late. That 1 TKO was, two fights ago. But the thing with Carpenter, he has really good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I remember watching, like, I believe it was a Daniel Gracie fight, and he really showed his Jiu-Jitsu acumen in that fight. Like I said, I'm pretty high on Tim Carpenter, to be perfectly honest with you. But Travis View has a lot of experience. I mean, he's been there. You know, he's seen everything. So, I'll go with Tim Carpenter, though. But it's pretty interesting fight. Okay, next fight after that, we have Waachiim Spiritwolf versus Marius Zaromskis. Spiritwolf is one of those guys that's just a really game opponent. His record doesn't indicate that he's not, anything great, but, his fighting style is push forward, be aggressive, be resilient, tough to finish, tough to just drop at times, But Spiritwolf is on a 3-fight losing streak. Marius Zaromskis, his stand-up is very strong, especially his kicks. He has really good kicks. Really creative, too. I mean, this guy did, like, finished guy with, like, a somersault kick and some subsequent strikes. I believe Zaromskis is also training at American Top Team as well these days. Bellator really wanted to put this fight together. I mean, this is their, like, third fight now. For some reason, they just really want to see Spiritwolf and Zaromskis have, like, I guess some, like, real closure. But yeah, I gotta go with Marius Zaromskis to win this one. Spiritwolf did pretty well in their last fight, actually. But I like Zaromskis here. He has solid stand-up, really good kicks. Creative at times. I mean, this guy's doing, like, somersaults and whatnot. So yeah, Marius Zaromskis for the win here. Okay, on to the prelim card. Killer B Ben Saunders fights Brian Warren. Brian Warren has a lot of experience. 18-15-1 record. But he's 38 years old, but coming off a 5-fight win streak, actually. But Killer B, though, he's been doing really well in Bellator. He lost to Douglas Lima and recently lost to Bryan Baker. Nonetheless, he has a really good skill set. He has really long limbs, which he uses really well, especially in the stand-up with his knees and his kicks. That's really the strength of his stand-up. I mean, his knees are like the strongest part of his stand-up, but he does have really good kicks as well. And when he's put on his back, I mean, his rubber guard game is really good. He was fighting, forgot who the guy was, but I remember he was doing rubber guard and throwing punches through the hole that the rubber guard was creating. He has really good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, especially on top and off his back. It's really good triangle chokes from his back. You saw it in the Bryan Baker fight. I mean, he threw this triangle that just came out of nowhere. It's so quick. I kind of wish he just held it on for longer. I thought he could have won there. He has good arm bars from his back, too, actually. The thing with Saunders, though, his takedown defense still is not that strong. It's improving, but you saw in the Baker fight especially, his takedown defense still needs some work. And he can be a little too content off his back. And that's just going to cost him in the judges' scorecards. I don't think Brian Warren's really going to expose that or anything. And also with Saunders, his top control is actually really good. He's been showing a really improved top game, especially from the side mount. He's really heavy on the side mount, and you always see him like trying to attack an arm. He's really like offensive at all times. So I gotta go with Killer B Ben Saunders to win this one. Okay, next fight after that, we have Chris Beast Boy Barnett versus Tom Sawyer. Sawyer's definitely going to have a lot more experience as he has a 25-12 record. He's coming off a 3-fight win streak, but he is 41 years old. He's definitely been in the game for a while. Beast Boy, though, I've been watching this guy in the XFC, actually. And I like his style, man. He break dances, for one, which is pretty cool. And he's really just, in general, he's really agile for his size. You know, he's not exactly the tallest heavyweight, but, you know, he's actually relatively quick. You know, Beast Boy, he does have some pretty good stand-up. I'm going to go with Chris Barnett to win this one. I'm a bit curious to see how he does in Bellator, actually. I'm curious if they'll put him in one of their, like, heavyweight tournaments. And he's only 26 years old. There's a lot of room for improvement for him as well. But yeah, Chris Beast Boy Barnett. Someone I'm looking forward to watching, actually. Okay, next fight after that, Amaya fights Kenny Moss. This one's pretty interesting. Kenny Moss has a 5-2 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. All fights, win or lose, end in a finish. And he's on a 2-fight winning streak and is only 23 years old. With Amaya, he has a 9-1 record. His only loss is to Ben Saunders. 3 wins by KO or TKO, 6 wins by sub. He's quite the finisher, actually. All his wins are by a finish, and he's only 26 years old. I'll go through Amaya to win this one. Okay, next fight after that, Matt McCook fights Shannon Slack. McCook's coming off a 2-fight losing streak. He's 27 years old, you know. But Shannon Slack, 4-0, undefeated record. Still a prospect, really. He trains at Rain, and I believe he trains at Black House as well. If I'm not mistaken, like I think he was training with like Dominic Cruz actually for a while, and he's really good wrestling. I hope I'm thinking about the same guy. But yeah, you know what? Regardless though, I got Shannon Slack winning this one. Okay, next fight after that, Paul Barrow fights Jason Carpellucci. I don't really know much about these guys, to be honest, so this is kind of a pick and fight for me. I know Barrow, 4-2 record, 1 TKO, 1 sub victory. He's only 26 years old. He's trading wins and losses right now, and he trains at Gracie, Tampa. Jason has a 6-2 record, 1 win by KO, 2 wins by sub, 2 losses by sub as well. He's 28 years old, 6-fight win streak, and he trains at American Top Team. I'll go with Jason Carpellucci to win this one. Okay, and finally, we have Ryan DeRocher versus Julian Williams. Don't really know much about these guys, to be perfectly honest with you. Total pick 'em fight here. I don't know anything about these guys. I'll go Julian Williams to win this one. Okay, that's pretty much it for my predictions for Bellator 72. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.